guys, it is April from Getting Hooky with It. It is time for Q&As. I asked you guys to ask me questions and you asked me quite a few. I might have to split this up between like personal life stuff and book stuff because there were so many questions, but we'll see how we do. If you like this video, please click like. It really supports my channel when you do that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would love to spend more time with you. So let's get into the questions. I have the May Cave asking me, what kind of dog do you have? So Libby is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. I always want to say King Charles Cavalier Spaniel, and I think I usually do say that, but yes, so the Cavalier I think was made from a few different breeds, so a pug, papillon, and then a spaniel, all mixed together creates a Libby, and they're wonderful dogs. They're so sweet. If you are interested in having a dog who just kind of lays around and hangs out with you, like, they are true lap dogs. Wonderful. She also asked, does she have any cute quirks? Libby has all sorts of cute quirks. My favorite has to be her snoring. She just snores so hard. You can really tell the pug in her because at night sometimes she'll be snoring and Barry will be snoring, and I probably woke myself up from snoring, but it's like this, I don't know, this orchestra of heavy breathing. It's really funny. So she snores a lot. She also does this thing when she sees my mom in particular. She and my mom are like this. So when she sees her, she literally cries to the point that people have stopped me and been like, oh my God, is your dog okay? I'm like, no, she's just thrilled beyond belief to be seeing my mom. So yeah, those are pretty cute. Nancy Trevino asks, how young is your Libby? And Libby is not quite young, but she thanks you for the compliment. She's actually about to be 10 at the end of March. So yes, little Libby is growing older, and you can tell like in her face she's got more white hairs, and she's just so cute. She is feeling it sometimes. I think she might have a little arthritis in her leg, and her eyes aren't great, and she's just, you know, she's just getting older, but she's still young at heart and very sweet. Vicky from chapter 32 asked, I would love to hear about how Libby came into your life. So I always knew that I wanted a Cavalier. I had one dog in my childhood, and it was a Scottish Terrier named Sunny, and he was very adorable, but he died when I was 4. All through my childhood, through my teen years, we didn't have a dog. We had birds. I knew I wanted a dog, so when I settled in Ottawa, after moving around a little bit, I decided, okay, this is the time to get a dog, and I researched into it and I realized I really wanted a Cavalier. So I went to a breeder, and she didn't have any dogs at that moment, but she said that she had a friend who is a breeder and he had a dog. And so my mom and my sister and we went to this man's trailer actually. Just FYI, I made sure that he was like a certified breeder. I checked all of the stats because I don't support puppy mills at all, and I really wanted to make sure that she was in good health. So we went to the trailer, and there was little Libby, and I think she was the only one left that I could have chosen, basically. She was there with her mom, Jazz, and her brothers, I think, and Libby curled up into my lap pretty much right away. She was 5 months old at that time, and I just immediately fell in love. It was love at first sight. She's so sweet. So yes, that's how she came into my life, and I got her, well, I must have been about 26. I was 26 when I got her. We lived in a little apartment and it was just fine for us. So yes, that's my sweet Libby. The next set of questions are about Barry and I and our love relationship, and generally it's actually one question from Krista over at Books and Jams, Katie from Girl About Library, and then Navina, and they all asked how we met. And so Barry and I met on an online dating site called Plenty of Fish. I had been single for a really long time. Like, I wasn't really interested in dating before I settled down in Ottawa because I didn't know where I was going to be all the time. So I had been single for like, I want to say 6 or 7 years, just dating people and having little relationships. Barry was getting out of a marriage that did not work, and we met on Plenty of Fish, and we went on a date to the Museum of Aviation. They were having this like Star Wars exhibit thing, and so we went to that because we're nerds and we really liked it. Honestly, it was the best exhibit I'd ever been to. And then we went out for a drink after at a patio, and it was a really nice date. And I remember opening the door and seeing Barry and thinking, good. And that's a really good sign. I don't know what the good was for, but I guess I was just, that was my immediate reaction. And we'd had really good banter back and forth online. Like, for those of you online dating, you probably know how that banter back and forth, like if they're quick-witted in their emails, like it can really tell you a lot about a person, and it was true. I still like held off for a really long time. We met in August and we only really started dating officially, just him and I, in December, because I just wanted to be sure. And yeah, I definitely friend-zoned him for a little while just because he just seemed like such a great friend, and I wasn't used to dating guys that felt just like friends. So yes, he was a friend that I liked to cuddle and kiss. And then he became my husband. So that is Barry and I. That's our little story. Stephanie at That's What She Read, she says, what are your makeup must-haves? I would have to say, if I could have like, I don't know, 5 things. Yeah, if I could have 5 things that I absolutely need to have in my makeup routine, it would be concealer, because you can slop that on all over the place and just blend it in. Concealer, blush, because I look like a white ghost without blush. Even if I do bronzer and no blush, I still look very pale. So yes, concealer, blush, liquid liner. I really love my liquid liner. Just opens the eye. Mascara, because you can't have liquid liner without mascara. You look very strange. And I have very blonde eyelashes. And then some sort of lipstick, preferably like a balmy kind of lipstick. It would be my choice. So I need all of those things in my life or I'm not happy. The next question is from Leah, and she says, your hair always looks so soft and shiny. What's your secret? Well, thank you. I don't really have a secret. I feel really bad for saying that, but I don't. I do use Dove. They have like this oil, dry oil or something like that, and I use that after I get out of the shower while I'm brushing my hair to like blow dry it. So I do use that. Otherwise, I don't really have any secrets, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Navina N asked, did you go to college, and if you did, what did you study? And Layla Alford also asked, did you study literature at college or even go to college? So for both of those, yes, I went to college. I went to 3 colleges really. I went to Heritage College. So I grew up in Quebec, and in Quebec you go to grade 11 in high school and then you're out in the world. And I went to Heritage afterwards. So CEGEP is a college in Quebec that is remarkably affordable. And there I took liberal arts, and it was so perfect. All you really had to pay for was tuition, which was barely anything, and your books. So liberal arts was great because it got you involved in all sorts of arts and humanities. So I studied art history, I studied Roman history, I studied film, I studied English lit, just all sorts of awesome subjects that I fell madly in love with. Up until then, when I was in high school, I really didn't think that I was that intelligent. I went to a high school that really focused on science. If you weren't in science, you probably weren't smart. And that was the thought, that was the mindset that I felt at my high school. So I was not good at science, I would just say that. So CEGEP and going to Heritage for the first time, that made me realize my intelligence and my love of learning. So I went to CEGEP, and then I went to Queen's afterwards. And because I did CEGEP first, I was able to move straight into second year at Queen's, and I did my Bachelor of Honors in English Literature. And it's funny, I kind of feel so about that period of my life. I kind of wish that I'd done a minor in history. I didn't do a minor in anything, and I really do regret that. I struggled with reading books and having to examine it so cautiously and nitpick it apart. And I missed just reading for the love of reading. I had some cool courses though at Queen's. I studied American literature and I studied children's literature. Both of those classes were amazing. I was at Queen's during 9/11. When that happened, I was in an American literature class when I found out that it happened. It was so devastating. I remember going back to my home that I was sharing with some friends and thinking, I don't know if I want to have kids, because that was the first time that I really acknowledged that the world was a bit dangerous, was very dangerous. It was the first time it hit close to home. The next year, I took a New York literature class, and I also took a class in Islam, and it was very interesting taking both those courses at the same time. I really appreciated both courses, and it helped me have more knowledgeable conversations with people. That was a time, and still sadly is a time, where people were so angry, and everyone seemed to just point their fingers at Muslims, and I just, very disappointing that happened. And having those courses at the same time really helped me have more informed conversations, that's for sure. After Queen's, I went to do my master's in publishing out in Vancouver, BC. It was at Simon Fraser University, and it was the only university that offered a master's in publishing. And that was such a cool experience, because I think there were 18 of us in total, and we were from all over the world. There were people there from China who actually worked in newspapers in China and came just for a semester. So you got to hear their experience in the publishing world, which is very, very different from ours here in Canada. There were people from England and Ireland, and of course people from Canada. It was just one of the best experiences. It was so hands-on. I learned so much. So I learned about book publishing, magazine publishing, which is what I was interested in, and also like new media publishing. Just one of the best experiences. So yes, that is my education in a nutshell. And then, is your job related to books? What is your job? And no, it's not related to books. I work for a nonprofit, and I'm in communications. But I do have a children's magazine, and I am in charge of that. I'm the editor, which is really nice. I've been at my job for 10 years now. Yeah, it'll be 10 years in March. And I was able to become the editor of a children's magazine just over a year ago, and I'm so happy. I'm in the field that I had set out to get into all of those years ago, and here I am, and it's really, really nice. So I love my job. I love the people that I work with. I have an amazing boss. I'm just really lucky, and yeah, I feel very blessed. Stephanie from That's What She Read, she said, comfort foods, question mark? Yes, so many comfort foods. I'd say my ultimate comfort food would probably be my mom's lasagna, because it was my favorite growing up, and just every time I have my mom's lasagna, we're at her house with family, and it just makes me feel all the fuzzies inside. Simona from Tabata774 said, what do you like to eat and which dish do you like to prepare mostly? I love Italian food. I love pizza and pasta. That's like my ultimate. And I love Mexican food as well. What dish do I like to prepare mostly? Okay, so Simona. I think Simona is from Italy, if I'm not mistaken. So Simona, if you came over to my house, I would not make this for you because you are Italian, and I feel like this would not be anywhere near good enough for you. But I like to make this pasta. It's like penne pasta. I throw in some pesto, sun-dried tomatoes, mushrooms, and shrimp, grilled shrimp. And I like mix it all together, and I personally really like it. But yes, Simona, if you came over, I would take you out for dinner, and then we'd like come back to my house and have some sort of dessert. I do like to bake a lot. I don't do it a lot because I don't need any more pounds on me. So yeah. Layla Alford asked me, have you always lived in Canada? I have always lived in Canada. I have lived kind of all over the place in Canada. So I live in Ottawa. I lived in Kingston and Toronto, and I lived in Vancouver. My favorite place of all, most definitely Vancouver. Vancouver is like a beautiful dream. The cherry blossoms are out right now in February. They're out. It's just wonderful. People are laid back, cool, calm, and collected. I would live there again in a heartbeat. Really lovely place. Layla also asked me, which other country would you like to go live for a year in the most? And I'm really, for me, it's between two. England. I watch a lot of beauty YouTubers from England, and I just love it. I think that I would get along there really well, and I would enjoy it very much. The other place is Italy, just because of the scenery, and I've always wanted to go to Italy really badly, and I feel like I think it would change me more if I went to Italy for a year than if I went to England. So let me switch that to Italy. The May Cave asked me, what is it like in Ottawa? So Ottawa is Canada's capital. So we've got our government here. It is a government town. It's very much, people are a little bit more reserved, I would say, in Ottawa. I've heard from people who don't live in Ottawa that can be hard to make friends here if you move here just on your own. And I could see that. But it's a really beautiful, beautiful city because of the government buildings. Downtown is lovely and gorgeous. We've also got Quebec on the border of Ottawa. So it's really multidimensional. you hear people having conversations in both English and French, like in a sentence. They might start out their sentence in English and switch to French. And that's just normal here. I don't speak French still, but I can kind of understand usually what people are saying. And I really love that. So also because we're so close to Quebec, Quebec has some beautiful scenery. We've got the Gatineau Hills, and if you are ever in Ottawa, especially in the fall, go to the Gatineau Hills. You will not regret it. It's just like it's a painting. It's nature's art. It's stunning. So it definitely has its ups and downs. It's home for me. My family is here, but it's got its ups and downs for sure. But you should definitely visit Ottawa if you haven't yet. It's well worth it. Have you traveled to the US enough to see any difference in our countries? That is a very interesting question. I have traveled to the US a lot. I've been to San Antonio, I've been to Boston, I've been to New York. My family and I took a trip down to the States, like to Myrtle Beach and Florida. Like when I was a kid, we went to the States a lot. I've been to Vermont. I would say when you're in the States and you're talking to people, I wouldn't say that they're any different than Canadians. I haven't experienced anything majorly different. The only thing for me going to the States is it depends on where I'm going, but I can feel a little bit on edge just because of gun laws. Yeah, I can feel on edge a little bit. But most of the time I'm a tourist, so I'm enjoying the beauty of whatever city I'm in. So most of the time I don't feel on edge, but I'm more aware of what could happen in the States than I am in Canada. I'm not ever scared in Canada at all. So I'd say that's the biggest difference. And then Laura Rodriguez asked me, what are the things that you really love about living in Canada? I love our multiculturalism being something that we really try to embrace. We have racism here too. It's something that's really hard because Canadians, I think, we really pat our backs for not being racist. And yet our Native community, our Aboriginal community, has been treated so horribly. There are horrific murders, disappearances of Aboriginal women and girls here at a rate that is very disturbing, and I think a lot of people in Canada kind of turn a blind eye to it. There are things about Canada that really need some work, like really, really need some work. But we do embrace a multicultural society. It's not a melting pot. You don't have to look like one another to get along or act like one another to get along. You can have your own rituals, your own beliefs, and still completely fit in. I really like that about Canada. I love Canada's healthcare system. Sorry if this is really political, but it's genuinely how I feel. I've just felt so blessed that we have such a great healthcare system where I can break a leg and go to the hospital, and the worst thing that's happened to me is that I now have a cast. I don't have to pay for anything. You know, I love that about Canada. I also really love our gun laws. I really love our gun laws. I do not feel scared ever. I never feel scared in Canada. Not of dying. I mean, there are definitely, creepy people everywhere. But I've never felt at risk of my life in Canada. So I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate how different the settings are in Canada. Like, you can go to both oceans. You can go up north where it's freezing. There is Vancouver, which is warm and kind of balmy, and I just, there's so many different kinds of settings in Canada that I feel very, very lucky for that. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do a whole other video on all of the questions I got about books, and then I got some random questions that didn't really fit into anything, so I'm going to do a whole other video about that. This is already super long and I'm going to have to edit it down a little bit. Keep your eyes peeled for that video in a hot second. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.